Hello everyone, it's Kane the Wisest again, coming at you with a video by popular demand. We got GBG, going to be explaining a couple different things. I think the most important thing that we want to go over is just how much buildings cost and how that affects you as a fighter with attrition, getting more fights in, and with this new GBG change, getting more of those coins for the store. So we'll kind of just peek through the store. So you got your silver coins. These are going to be the easiest coins for you to get. This is what you're going to use to buy forge points, goods if you want to get those. Tourney grounds for players that don't know. Absolutely fantastic building. This can only be built in Diamond League. So diamond not built, but you can only obtain this in Diamond League GBG. So this is probably one of the most important buildings in the game. Uh, as you can see, you got 25% attack and defense for both red and blue QI. Anything that has QI bonuses are going to be extremely difficult to get. Think about your Forgotten Temples, which provide you 50% boost to blue-red attack and defense, and then the Turdy Ground. So if you have one of each, you're already starting off with 75% boost to attack and defense, which is a really nice start. If you can get some other buildings, QI really becomes a little bit of a breeze. We'll go over that in another video. I know I've been kind of slacking with those, but I promise I'll come out with some new ones. I just feel like this was a little bit more pertinent considering our situation with the Treasury. So first we're going to kind of look at the Treasury, kind of see how all that looks. As you can see, Iron Age has always been kind of a weak age. It's hard to get people in Iron Age that have level 80 arcs that are just pumping goods, even, obs, anything like that. Iron Age players are generally going to be brand new, so it's hard to catch people in that age when they're pumping out goods. Uh, Early Middle Ages, as you can see, highest goods we got there is 84,000. It's going to be honey. High Middle Ages, this looks better. Lowest one we got is 78,000. Late Middle Ages, kind of all below 85,000. So there's going to be a reason why I'm telling you these numbers here soon. It's going to be extremely important. Colonial Age, as you can see, the lowest one we got is 61,000. Not too bad. It's Colonial Age has been coming up. Industrial Age, lowest one's 83,000. Pretty good. So I'm not going to go through every single age, but you kind of get the gist. Not a whole lot of ages are at a comfortable position to where we have at least 200,000 goods. I think the only age currently that we're pretty strong in is going to be Space Age Mars. So the lowest thing we got there is 165,000. Now, I don't think we actually have anyone in Space Age Mars. That's going to be another important topic that we hit on. So, Asteroid Belt, Sash. Okay, Felonius is in Space Age Mars. Yeah, he must have just aged up. Cool. So, we actually do have someone in Space Age Mars. Now, the reason that that's important is at the start of every GBG season, this is going to be our home tile right here. You can see it's got our insignia. We're always going to be the white tiles, so anytime we're in GBG and you're trying to look, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? We're the white tiles. We're going to try to set targets on sectors that we want to take. So let's say we want to take A3A. I'm just going to go ahead and mark that as a sector, but we don't actually want to do that. If you see this hands off on a sector, that's going to basically say, hey, don't attack this. And there's generally reasons for that. I'm not going to go too much into that right now, but hands off means no touchy. So if you see that, don't touch anything with the marked is going to be sectors that we're going to want to attack. All right, so going back to our home tile. So I'm usually up at the start Thursday morning. I want to say it's 8 a.m. server time. So the first thing I'm going to do is scroll down to the bottom and look at this advanced guild fortress. We're going to kind of explain some of these buildings and how they're beneficial. The advanced guild fortress is the best building in the game for the guild to lay down at start. So this is going to give you 100% more victory points, and that's for every tile that you have. And then this province alone is going to generate an additional 500 victory points. So if you weren't to get anything, if you were just to have your home tile, it would be that 500 victory points and 100% bonus. You're going to be generating 1,000 victory points just on having an advanced guild fortress. So extremely important. If you kind of look at where we're at right now, obviously we're not building this season, so if there's any non-Galatians members looking at this being like, whoa, that's rough. Okay, you can see that 700 an hour, and that's with 6 provinces. So if we were to have a advanced guild fortress, we would already be eclipsing that amount in VP per hour. VP is going to be victory points. Victory points is going to be obviously how you know that you're in the lead or not. So Warrior Possum's in the lead with 484,394 victory points at 5,877 per hour. So if we were to have a fortress, we would be, at 1,700 right now, which would be pretty solid. So that's just the start. And we're going to go down and see why we are doing this. Now, if you look at the advanced guild fortress, the number to the right is going to be the amount of goods that it's going to cost to put that building down. So it's going to cost 65,230 copper to lay this building down, as well as 34,770 convenience food. Now, we do have enough of that, but we're going to be short 22,000 copper. So any building that we have in the treasury that is below 100,000, it's not going to be looking good. There is a potential, there is an algorithm at the start of each GBG that if you have a player in a certain age, like say we have 3 in Iron Age and 3 in early middle age. Let's just say we have a guild full of 6 people, 3 in each age. There's basically going to be a 50% chance that the goods are going to come from either one of those ages. Now, obviously, we're a guild full of 50 people across multiple ages, so I'm not going to dive too much into that math, but just know that the goods are pulled from any age that we currently have a player in. The more people that we have in an age, let's say late middle ages, I think we have like 8 or 9 people, that percentage is going to be higher that goods are pulled from that age. So if we go to the treasury and go to LMA, we really don't have anything that could survive a 75,000 good hit except for talc powder. And sometimes on an advanced guild fortress, it's going to be 100,000 goods. So we're going to swap over to this wiki, and this is going to kind of go over everything. Let's see if I can pull it up. I had the table. All right. Advanced Guild Fortress, 100,000 goods. It costs 125 diamonds to instantly build it. I actually don't think that number's correct. I want to say it's actually a little bit more. I thought it was like 185. But 100,000 goods off the rip could possibly pull from 3 ages. It could pull from 2. It could pull from 1. I've seen it pull from 1 before. I could be mistaken. Let me know if I'm completely wrong on that. But that's kind of the meat and potatoes right there. In the 6 rounds of GBG last season, out of the ones we placed first in, both times we had Advanced Guild Fortress. And the 3 rounds that we did not have a fortress put down, we did not place at all. And one of the times we had a fortress put down, I believe we got 3rd place or 2nd place. So you can kind of see without that fortress laid down, Everything else is pretty much moot because you could build all over the place here. I'm gonna go to a different thing. We're going to talk about attrition next. So we kind of went over the advanced guild fortress. There are other buildings. You got the regular guild fortress. So surrounding provinces have a 52% chance to not increase their attrition level. So if you had a regular guild fortress, the tiles around B5A, B4A, A4C, A5C, whenever they opened up, you'd be able to hit them at 48% attrition. So it's important to lay down the fortress. That's really going to be something we're going to try to hone in on. So what we need to build a fortress is essentially every single good in every age that we have players in, we want it to be at 100,000 point blank, because then we absolutely know we're going to have enough to lay that down, and then we could possibly place. If we don't have this placed, the statistical likelihood of us taking first, second, or third in a GBG round is close to none, especially at this level in Diamond. It's almost impossible to get first, second, or third and get those fragments for those GBG buildings, such as this, the Somerset Hospital Selection Kit. So, pretty fantastic building. Definitely better than the Fort Imperial. Fortunately, we're not building this season, but you could see just how much that thing really can just buff not only your base, but guild goods. So, 96% boost for attack and defense for attacking and defending army. You got a pretty substantial 172% GE boost, 43 forge points, 40 random current age units, and then 1,000 guild goods to the treasury. That is absolutely huge. That's that's over like a level 90 observatory. I don't know about Arc, but that's a ton of goods. So you could see why it's so important when we're in Diamond League to try to go after these buildings. But if our treasury isn't in a working order, there's no shot that we're going to be able to lay down this building. There's been a lot of times at start where I'm just scrounging around trying to make trades, but it's tough to get EMA goods 20,000 in under 8 hours. I mean, sometimes it takes days, and by that point you're already 3 days, 4 days into the season, and it's going to be hard to play catch up. So that's kind of really the only one I wanted to talk about was the advanced fortress, but we'll kind of go into some other buildings and just kind of see how that works. So ideally we want every sector to be at 20% attrition. So 20% essentially means you have a 20% chance for your attrition, your level of attrition right here. I'm clicking on it to go up one. So if we were at 100%, if A3A, here, I'm just going to target this. If A3A was at 100%, every time that you attack this tile, your attrition would go up 1 point. Now, if we go into the trials, let's just go over to trial one and we'll kind of see. This is brand new, so I'm still kind of trying to work this out. All right, at 1 attrition, the army boost is going to be 2%, and that's based upon the tile. So you can see A4B is a red tile, A3A is a blue tile. That's going to be your blue attack and defense. Red tile is going to be your red attack and defense. So it's going to go off of those numbers, but we'll go back to trial one, kind of explain that a little bit. All right, at 2 attrition, that army boost is going to go, this is the army that you're attacking. It's going to go up to 4%, 3, 6%, 4, 8%, 5, 11, 10, 39. And then it skips all the way to attrition 30. That boost is going to be 599. 50, it's going to go almost 2,000, 100, 11,000, 150, 41,000. So obviously this is completely different than the past GBG. It's going to take quite a bit for me to kind of gather some information on this. You do have not only that bonus, but now you have critical hit chance that the opposing army can hit you with, which is rough. So the one that I'm doing, it currently trial 31, maxed out at 57 attrition. Pretty rough. 21% chance for their troops to do 150 damage. So that's going to kind of simulate a Arctic Orangery. What kind of sucks about this whole thing is if you fight with next age troops like I do, your AO is essentially useless. So you're fighting against an army, and while they may be a full age under you, now they have that AO 150% boost chance against you. So the trials at higher levels do offer the potential for more rewards. You can see here at trial 31, reward chance 51%, rewards 327 platinum coins at 36%, 34% 83 gold coins, and 30% platinum coins. I meant silver for the first one, sorry. So that reward chance was what, 51% with some pretty juicy ones. This is 50%, 71 silver coins, 51 gold coins, 21 platinum coins. So you can kind of see the difference as you scale up in the amount of coins that you get from each one, as well as the percentage. You see the platinum was a pretty high percentage over here. It's 36 for trial 31. I keep saying platinum, I mean silver. Over here, 85% chance. So it's definitely juicier to do the higher trials. Now your attrition will absolutely not be as high going in the higher trials, but you will get better shot at some more of those good coins. But that's kind of just going over that a little bit, going over attrition in general. So why it's important to have 20 percentiles for those who have fought before. You obviously know 20 percentiles, you basically have a 1 in 5 chance for your attrition to go up for every fight that you win. So if you're at 100%, it's always going to go up 1. If you're at 20%, you have a 1 in 5 chance of your attrition going up 1 point. So in order to get us to 20%, we essentially need 2 buildings. And we can kind of mix and match what buildings to get us to 80%, 80% off of 100. So that will essentially be a 20% chance, an 80% chance to not increase your attrition, but we'll call it it's a 20% tile. So you have 20% chance of increasing your attrition. So there's 2 ways we do this. We can either do 2 regulars. If you look at a regular, if members of the owning guild of this province advance into adjacent provinces, they have a 40% chance to not increase their attrition level. So if you add 2 of those up, 40 plus 40, that equals 80. So this is going to be for any adjacent tile that you currently own. So let's go to A3B. You can see that we currently have a regular field camp, which gives us a 40% chance to not increase their attrition level. So every tile that's currently touching A3B is going to be at 60%. So you could say that A3A is obviously touching A3B, and that's at 60%. Ooh, we'll go over here. I'm just going to mark this. It absolutely should be marked. So we'll go to B5A. We have an advanced field camp, which gives us 60, and a basic field camp, which gives us 20 off. So 60 plus 20 is 80. 100 minus 80 is 20%. Boom. This is a 20% tile. B4A also has a basic field camp. So that's just a little bit more. But it doesn't go any lower than 20. So even though B4A is touching B5B and B5A is touching B5B, so you got 60 plus 20 is 80. You would think it would be 80 plus 20 is 100, but that means that your attrition would never go up. So that's just not going to be possible. The max tile that you're going to be able to hit is a 20% chance for your attrition to go up. So B2A, we'll look at that one. So we have quite a bit going on here. We got a regular guild barracks. So that's going to be a 40% chance to not increase attrition. And then you have 2 regular field camps. So 40, 40, 40. Like I said before, you can't go any higher than 80% to not increase the attrition level. So any tile that is going to be touching B2A, whenever they open up, you can see that these are all locked. This is 8 minutes, 3 hours. So once any of these tiles open up, you'll see whenever I post this video, any of these tiles are going to be at 20% because it doesn't even matter what's on A3B because B2A is touching all of them. So all of those are going to be at 20%. Now, if we go into the buildings themselves, we'll kind of go over those a little bit, and then I'll go back to the website and kind of explain that and how much they cost. Basic field camp, it's gonna be the cheaper of the field camp buildings. It's gonna basically reduce a 20% chance for adjacent tiles. So this province requires 5% advances to be conquered. Essentially, that means if you own this tile and you have a regular field camp, I want to say the base amount of hits for this new system is 100. I want to say it's 100. 100 hits to take the sector. So if you have a basic field camp and that's it, it's going to be 105 hits to close the sector. Regular field camps in this province generates 15% more victory points. So the field camps are going to be pretty solid from a cost perspective and what they do. So ranking them from best to worst, if Treasury was not in play, would be the field outposts, then the field camps, then the barracks. So the reason why the field outposts are so goated is because not only do they do the same things as the field camps, so the field camps, this province generates 100% more victory points. For the advanced outpost, this province generates an additional 100 victory points. Now, I'm not great at math, but I do know that the advanced field outpost gives you more victory points for every single one that you have on it. So I wish I could show you an example of maybe one that we had. Maybe if I can go to someone else's and see if anyone else has. The reason no one builds these, we have built them in the past, is they are just so dang expensive. So we'll go back to the Handy Danny website. So all of these are going to be the guild starting province only buildings. All right, advanced field outpost. It's going to cost 14,000 goods. Now, if we go to the advanced field camp, 7,000 goods. So it costs twice as much, does the same thing for attrition, gives us a little bit more victory points, but it costs twice as many guild goods. So anything that's an outpost is going to cost significantly more than the camps or the barracks. The barracks are going to cost a little bit less than the field camps, but the one thing that the barracks do not do is they don't give any boost to victory points, and they don't give you any additional victory points for owning them. So they're good generally for, if your treasury is a little weak or you're doing outside sectors that you want to get 20% on. Generally, you're going to lay down the cheapest ones because, your outside sectors really just, you could see the victory points on this one. The base one, not the one in green, is 33. If we go to the middle, X1X, that base one is going to be 279. So yeah, the ones on the outside, you're not going to want to kind of build your big bangers on. There are some times where maybe you want to do that, but we're not going to get super confusing with this. So if we go over to, you can see B4A is at 80%, meaning that B4B is on 80%. So B4A has to have a building that's the smallest building that gives us a 20% chance to not increase our attrition. So, yep, basic field camp. It could have been a basic guild barracks, or it could have been a basic field outpost. All three of those kind of do the same thing. We talked about earlier, the outpost generates additional points. The camps generate an additional percentage more of points. And then the barracks, they don't do anything. It's kind of just advances. But that's the same as what the other two do. It just doesn't give you more points. So, kind of going back, and let's see if that rings true, because I want to say that's a little outdated. We'll go to the advanced field outpost and see if it really is 14,000. 7,411 coke, 5,154, and 1,435. Yeah, I want to say that adds up to 14,000. And then for this one, I'm gonna assume this is what, 10,000, 10,500 for the regular ones. I'm at the 10,400. Okay. Yeah, so that's goods just for each building, and then you multiply that by however many sectors you take, across the 11 days of GBG, you're spending quite a bit. So off the rip, if you're putting down that fortress, because you're going to be wanting to put down the fortress if you have any shot of winning first, second. You can get third. I'm not saying it's impossible, but everything has to go your way. You have to be fighting with, possibly weaker guilds. If you're against any guilds that are somewhat good at fighting, they're going to be laying down a guild fortress 100%. So you are going to be behind the 8 ball. You want to make sure you get that built. So what we can do as a guild is go back to the Treasury. I mean, it's going to take some work, but a lot of these weren't even close to where they're at now. There's a couple ages that are almost there, super close to, having everything in the 100,000s. We just need a little bit more work. If I kind of went over everything in, a crazy way, just let me know and I'll try to slow things down. But that's honestly the best way that I can, describe attrition, buildings, the Treasury, how much things cost. I feel like we kind of covered all the bases. We didn't really go over too much like GBG strategy or anything like that. But kind of just went over some basic stuff. So if you have any questions, or you think this video stinks, please let me know. But other than that, I think we're done here. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.